Today, we're diving into one of the biggest stories facing Major League Baseball, not on the field, but at the bargaining table. The MLB and the MLBPA are in the middle of negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement, and right now the two sides appear to be miles apart, with the proposed salary cap becoming a major point of contention and both sides digging in on key economic issues. Concerns are growing that baseball could be headed toward another labor stoppage when the current agreement expires after the 2026 season. Recent reports indicate that a lockout is increasingly being viewed as a real possibility if a deal isn't reached by the December deadline. So, what are the biggest sticking points in these negotiations, and why are the owners pushing for changes that the players have historically refused to accept? And if a strike or lockout does happen, how long could it last, and what would it mean for the future of the sport? We'll break down the latest proposals from both sides, examine what's really at stake, look back at previous labor battles in baseball history, and discuss whether fans should be preparing for a long and potentially damaging fight. We've got plenty to break down today, so sit back, relax, and let's get into it. This is Baselines to Sidelines. Welcome back to Baselines to Sidelines. I'm Nick. I'm your host, Nick. As I said in the intro, lot to talk about today with the MLB and the MLBPA this week coming out with their first bargaining chips essentially for the negotiations. You have the MLB, who is looking for a salary cap. That was kind of telegraphed, 6 months ago almost. Pretty much essentially when the World Series ended last year, that was pretty much telegraphed. And then you have the Players Association, who historically does not do salary caps. They refuse to accept a salary cap. They have for the entire time of the MLB. Out of the big four sports, Major League Baseball is the only one that does not have a hard salary cap. Or a salary cap in general, I should say. So, there's a lot to get into this, and I'm going to try to break it down partially as simply as possible without kind of bogging you down with information. Not that I don't think any of you could handle that. Not basically what I'm saying is my viewers could easily handle this. It's so much information. There's so much information out here right now, and this is just the first piece of the negotiations. This is the first domino to fall in what's going to be months of negotiations, and be ready. Strap yourselves in. So let's look at the two sides. You have the MLB. Hard salary cap is what they are proposing. That's the biggest thing they are proposing. A hard salary cap of a $245.3 million and a hard salary floor of $171.2 million. The MLB is basically stating, mainly to an attempt to create a competitive balance within the league, since the last 10 World Series combined have all been large market teams, especially with the LA Dodgers kind of leading that charge with the back-to-back World Series and having the largest payroll in baseball. Right now, the LA Dodgers have a salary of $346 million currently, plus with the $169 million in luxury tax penalties, because if they go above a certain threshold, they have to pay a certain tax penalty that comes from the MLB. They have to pay that. They're paying $169 million in tax penalties. Do you want to know how high that is? Their luxury tax alone is $100 million more than the entire payroll of the Miami Marlins which sits at $69 million current. And part of this, I want to be, for some of my sourcing, I want to give credit to Jeff Passan of ESPN. He wrote a beautiful article kind of breaking down a lot of what the MLB wants, what the MLBPA wants. So I am pulling some information from there. I'm also going to be I'm going to give credit where credit is due from some of the other places that I am pulling from. But that is huge. Basically, the MLB is the LA Dodgers are kind of just running rampant, and at least in the MLB's eyes. And so they want to try to rein in the LA Dodgers and some of these other teams, i.e. the Yankees, the Mets, you and a couple of other teams that I'm just blanking off the top of my head. What the MLB is also proposing is an equal share of all TV revenue across all 30 MLB teams with a 50-50 split of TV revenue between the players and the owners. The current setup is the teams only have to share 48% of all TV revenue amongst each other. Here is why that is so significant. The LA Dodgers recently signed, I want to say it was a year or 2 years ago, a 25-year deal where they have a deal with, I believe it's Sportsnet. They essentially have their own channel. And this TV deal is a 25-year, $8.35 billion TV deal that gives them approximately $334 million in revenue a year. $334 million a year. That's before ticket sales, that's before merchandise, that's before everything else the LA Dodgers make. Now, I want to be clear. I ain't hating on the Dodgers. If you can rack that money, rack it. If you can bring in that surplus of money, do it. I mean, there's no denying the LA Dodgers are the most popular team in the MLB. Outside, you could argue the New York Yankees, but especially on the west side of the Mississippi, it's Dodgers. It is the Dodgers. Now, one thing that I read in a couple of these articles that I found interesting, Manfred said he thinks all 30 MLB teams support the TV shared revenue. Listen to that wording, people. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, I want to be clear about that, says he thinks all 30 teams are in support of that. Why are you putting that on the table if all 30 teams are not in support, if you don't think, or if it's not confirmed that all 30 teams are in support of the equal shared TV revenue? Why is that on the table then? That kind of concerns me if you're on the MLB side. Because if you look, there's discourse there. If you only think that that all 30 teams are going to agree to the 50-50 shared revenue, that's a problem there. Now, if you look at it at a macro scale, from a basic fan perspective, the salary cap is awesome. You're like, yeah, this would bring in more of a competitive balance to Major League Baseball. Which, I think on the surface level, you could easily make that argument. Here's the interesting part. And mind you, I want to be clear, I grew up around small market teams my whole entire life. I grew up around watching the Rockies, the Diamondbacks. I grew up around watching the Kansas City Royals. I grew up watching a lot of these smaller market teams that didn't have the funds that these big boy organizations have. So I want to be clear that I see both sides of this. If you really dig into the micro scale of the salary cap, what the MLB is proposing, it kind of gets muddy because you have, on the revenue side of things, you have that equal balance. Correct. You have that equal set of everybody shares everything. The problem that is arising is is there going to be salary cap increases? Because mind you, the NFL every single year increases their salary cap, increases the ability for the players to make money. Is that going to happen with MLB? I don't know. I hope it does because I want to see players get paid. The players are on the field. The players are the ones doing the work that bring in the fans. So I have a concern about that. Then I also have the concern of what is going to be the penalty above the hard salary cap. Because the Dodgers are going to push that. The Dodgers are going to attempt to push that. Is it just going to be more luxury tax penalties? I don't know. If it is, I'm pretty sure the Dodgers are just going to scoff at luxury tax penalties. The Yankees are going to scoff at luxury tax penalties. Even the Mets probably will. Then you also have the problem of what the hard salary cap is going to do to the teams in the immediate future. Well, one, let's state the obvious, it's going to eviscerate the LA Dodgers. The LA Dodgers that you see them now as, with Miguel Rojas, with Shohei Ohtani, with Freddie Freeman, with Will Smith, Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, the list goes on and on and on and on, and Kyle Tucker, on and on and on. That hard salary cap is going to eviscerate them. Because, remember, the Dodgers have a hard salary cap of $346 million with $169 in luxury tax penalties. If the hard salary cap comes up, you're not going to be able to keep all those players. That's impossible. So that's going to eviscerate any imagination of the Dodgers. Then you also have the lower teams, the significantly lower teams. And I'm not even talking the Rockies. I'm talking you have the Miami Marlins. You also have the Athletics. You also have, I believe, the Rangers in that. I could be wrong on that. You have teams that are in the double-digit millions in salary money right now. That hard salary floor, it's going to be put up or shut up because they're also going to pay penalty tax on the back end if they don't meet the $171 million. What is that going to do to the Miami Marlins? The Miami Marlins really aren't making money right now. What is that going to do to them? I'm very curious about that. So, I think this initial plan is interesting from the MLB side, because I haven't even gotten to the MLBPA. it's going to really shake things up, which is something they have wanted to do. But they haven't brought up a salary cap since 1994, when the last time a salary cap was proposed, it was in the 94-95 CBA deal. That never came through because the longest work stoppage in MLB history happened to the point where they had to cancel the World Series, the 94-95 World Series. That's pretty significant. That is extremely significant. And the Players Association did not have the war chest that the Players Association has now. So I'm very curious about this. I am extremely curious. Now let's go to the Players Association. What are they proposing? The Players Association has proposed a salary cap floor that forces teams to have to spend a minimum every year, but there's no cap. So basically, that's what's called a salary floor, which is what the MLB also suggested, but they also suggested a cap as well. The MLBPA is saying, no, we will propose a floor, but no cap. They also want to, and I believe their cap, I didn't write this down, but their cap, I believe, sits at right around 180 million, or their floor, I should say. I don't want to say cap. Their salary floor sits right around 180 million. They also want to increase the earnings of younger players by nearly doubling what the league minimum is now to $1.2 million. Because the current league minimum is right around about $700,000 is what the league minimum is. Now, to the average Joe like you and me, that's a lot of money. But to your average MLB baseball player, that's really not a lot of money. So they want to increase the $1.2 million, they want to increase it to $1.2 million, I should say. The MLBPA believes that a salary cap is not going to create competitive balance. It's only going to create a hindrance on the players getting the earnings that they deserve, which is their salaries. They believe that the only way competitive balance is going to come is when you have a floor, which forces teams such as Rockies, Marlins, Houston, Royals, Athletics, where it forces these teams to have to spend more. It forces these teams to have to go out there and go get these higher priced players. Because let's just take the Rockies, for example. Historically in the past, outside of Chris Bryant, they don't go out and really spend that big money. Their payroll right now is only about $120 million. Pretty low middle of the pack. The MLB Association believes that this is going to force that competitive balance because it's going to force teams to have to go out there and go spend that money to bring in the better players. Which I see their side a little bit. I also see it as a problem again for the Miami Marlins are a huge one. A huge one where they're not going to want to spend. I don't even know if they have the capability to spend some of the money that is going to be asked of them. So it's really fascinating that you get both sides. You have the MLB that's going to practically eviscerate what the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, all those big boys, it's going to eviscerate what they're doing. And then you have the MLBPA, which is probably going to put a couple of teams underwater. There's a likelihood, or I wouldn't say a likelihood, I want to rephrase that. But there is a chance that a couple of teams could severely go underwater. That's going to be huge. Whatever outcome comes of this, whether there's a cap or there's a floor, because one of the two is going to happen. That has been stated very clearly by the two sides. One of the two is going to happen. It's going to shake up the MLB to the point of something we have never seen before. Now, with all of this being said, a lot of people are asking, is there going to be a strike? Is there going to be a work stoppage? At this point, there's no denying it. I think I even said that in a previous episode. The 2027 season is in huge hindrance right now. It is in jeopardy right now. The 2027 season is coming up with major problems right now because there is going to be a work stoppage. Because the MLB is not moving off their side and the MLBPA is not moving off their side. And both of them have created significant war chests. You have the MLB who has created a war chest to help the owners and all of their employees outside of the players, obviously. They've created a war chest to help pay for all of their people. And that war chest is about, last numbers that came out, is about $2 billion. Now you have the Players Association. They've nearly doubled their war chest from 2021, which was about $213 million. They're sitting at $519 million in war chest funds right now to be able to help pay and give money to these players that are going to be sitting out not getting paid. That's a significant amount of money. How long that will last, I don't know. If they're smart, and I don't see how the MLBPA is not going to be smart considering what they did in 1994, this is going to be a huge deal, and they're going to be able to ride out for a while. They're going to be able to hang with the owners for a while. They're not going to be able to hang with the owners forever. I don't see that happening because you could do the quick math here, 519 million versus 2 billion. That's significant. The next 6 months are going to be the most interesting because it's going to really show how quickly these talks are going to progress. If the can is just being kicked down the road and a lot of word volley is going on between the two sides, you better kiss that December deadline goodbye. Because it's going to it's going to come, it's going to go, and there's going to be no baseball. Which is really unfortunate right now because Major League Baseball is having one of the highest upswings that they have seen in viewership history and in attendance. They are actually gaining ground, something that they haven't seen for a while. This past World Series, I read an article through ESPN. the Game 7 World Series was one of the most highest viewed games since 1994 or 1991, sorry. That is huge. So baseball is on a huge upswing, which is also why I see why the MLBPA is saying no salary cap. No salary cap, because they don't want to miss out on that upswing, on this revenue increase, on this immense wave that right now Major League Baseball is having and could be building off of. They're about to have a new TV deal influx as well, with several different teams, with also the MLB as a whole reaching deals with with networks. That's going to be another money influx. So you can see also the MLBPA side saying, hold on, don't cap us, because we don't want to miss out on that revenue either. It's going to be kind of crazy to watch. I know I've said that a couple of times. But you are literally going to be watching history in the making. Strike is going to rival that 1994 strike. And I am excited, but I'm also nervous. Because if this work stoppage lasts too long, all of that momentum that baseball is seeing right now, you can just kiss that goodbye. Because people are going to turn away. People are going to not care. And when baseball comes back around, where are those people going to be? I don't think they're going to be with baseball. They're going to be moved on to basketball. They're going to be moved on to football. They're going to be moved on to... Soccer is actually kind of getting an upswing right now. They're going to be moved on to other entertainment. And that's going to leave MLB kind of high and dry right now. So it's going to be intense. It's going to be crazy, and I hope for the sake of baseball that there is going to be a deal reached. I really do. But only time will tell. And it's going to be a bit of a wild ride, but I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed listening and gaining some information. I hope you learned a lot from this. Because this is the core right now. Yes, there's a lot of great baseball being played right now. There's a lot of fun happening right now. But all of that is great right now. But what is the future of baseball going to be? What is going to be the sport that we all love so much? Where is that sport going to be come 2027 or even 2028? That is going to be an interesting thing. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I really hope you guys like and subscribe. And I really hope that you guys just enjoy. Please follow Baselines to Sidelines where all podcasts are found. And I hope to catch you guys in the next episode. This has been Baselines to Sidelines. Nick, out.